Am I taking crazy pills? Here's the scoop. We were playing around with NeoVim, my antiquated editor, that can do Google, DuckDuckGo, or npm.js searches from the command line and parse those using the modern libraries such as TreeSitter and using things with Lua and parsing. You know, it's all just kind of like ancient technologies. And as we were doing that, we were searching for Vim memes, as one tends to do when you're supposed to be getting work done. We stumbled across this article, Modern IDEs Are Magic. Why are so many coders still using Vim and Emacs? Which is obviously an excellent question at this point because, we weren't doing anything cool or exciting in our editor before, and instead we could be using these magical IDEs. So we said, why not just do a little reaction, right? Just do a little reaction. Just see what this article has to say. See if they've got any valid points. Maybe it's time for me to switch. Right? So let's just see what the article has to say, and maybe we'll learn a few new things, right? So the endless war between Vim and Emacs users has continued ad nauseum. I'm definitely not sick of it. I'm just saying. I'm definitely not sick of it. I still have a good time. Posting it. It's less a war at this point than a grumbling shuffle of ingrained habit and stubborn resistance to change. That is totally what it feels like. We never change anything in NeoVim. It's not like people have been asking me for the last 6 months, hey, when is the new NeoVim release coming out, right? No one's wondering, where is 0.5? Because we're just kind of like stuck in 1980 still. It's still 1980, literally nothing's changed. We're not working with new technologies or cool things. It's just exactly the same. So fortunately, everyone is happy with that, and no one's bugging me endlessly, daily, sliding into my DMs about 0.5. Speaking of 0.5, when is it again? It's not coming. Why would you guys want that? You're all stuck in the past, okay? Stay in the past. Stay in the 0.4 land. Stay in the 0.4 landscape. So, developers are a finicky bunch. Like a dog refusing to walk on wet grass. Is that a thing, by the way? Is this supposed to be? Is this an analogy that relates to people? Have you experienced this? My dog goes out in the rain. I don't understand. Anyways, there always seemed to be a bit of resistance to changing up a routine. We love what we grew up with, be it Star Trek jokes, Vim, or Emacs. I mean, I don't understand this sentence. And as I joked before, have these people never met a JavaScript framework? Like, they change every day, and people are like, you're still using React? We're on to Svelte. Or you still? It's like they've never even seen a developer change their minds about anything. I feel like the normal comment is like, developers just change constantly and they don't know how to stick with anything. So I guess you can have it both ways. I guess you can just have it both ways, right? So, but once again, I do want to come back to this. Dog refusing to walk on wet grass. Like, I don't understand this analogy. I don't understand. We can move on, though. I go over a little bit of some history, I guess, about this war, which is really, I mean, in my experience on the internet, like, I don't know any Vim users who are actually angry at Emacs users or vice versa. Sure, there are jokes and memes that we like to say to each other, but I don't know anyone who's like legitimately angry when they meet a user of a different editor. Just like, oh, cool, you use Emacs? Sweet, that sounds cool. Like, what do you like about it? And then we just talk about it. But that seems fine. And this person clearly really are like a master of Vim, because they call it an arrow-controlled universe of keyboard shortcuts. I, too, as I navigate inside of NeoVim, only use arrow keys. For me, that's where it feels like the strongest improvements to my workflow come from, is using those arrow keys. I feel like the first thing you read when you're looking through Vim Tutor is it says, start with the arrow keys and never leave. And that's it. That's the whole thing. So, these arrow-controlled universe of keyboard shortcuts. This is very interesting. You can tell they're a big-time Vim user. So they're both using coding, editing, and administering systems. That's true. I'm not gonna doubt them on this. That's true. And though we hate to say it, both have reached a point where neither seem to really want to fade off into the sunset. I guess that's true too. I I don't know what this means. Fade off into the sunset. Like, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. It's less a war at this point than a grumbling shuffling. Oh, they literally just copied their intro sentence here and they put it inside of here. Okay, I guess they had a minimum word count that they needed to put inside the article. It seems a little weird that you would do that, but that's fine. So Vim and Emacs users want each other's trusting to implement each other's key bindings, a thing they actually do. I don't is this like an insult saying that implementing like a common keyboard shortcut strategy in other editors is like insane? I guess I don't, this is supposed to be a dig, right? Like this is supposed to be a dig. I don't understand what the dig is here, that they want like a consistent keyboard shortcut system, I guess. That seems really embarrassing. All of you should feel ashamed. Okay, all of you should feel ashamed that you like using the same keyboard shortcuts in other places. Vim, the high availability IDE. Well, first off, I don't understand why this word is here. I don't understand, but that's okay. The consensus among many Vim Emacs users creates a picture of many tech users from a certain generation. What is this? Why would you italicize this? A certain generation, chat, would be familiar with. As my father would attest, using his Microsoft Zune long after its support ran out, if it ain't broke, what? How old are the people that wrote this? I remember Microsoft Zune. What? I'm in my 20s. I remember Zune. What is this? What is this like reference? How old are these people? While there are many IDEs on the market, I guess this is just a list of them, there's no reason to use one if you don't have to use one. It's the same reason I'm still using Notepad to compose and not some fancy text editor or CMS tool. It just works. This person writes in Notepad. Do we have to go on? Do I need to say any more things or what? They're just using Notepad? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. There's no dig against Notepad. But I like how they're trashing. I can't go. What is a certain generation? What does this even mean? I don't know what that means. I don't know. Okay, sorry. I'm still kind of getting sidetracked there. I don't know what's going on there. We'll keep moving. Probably not my generation. I don't know. Oh, you're probably right, Connie. I don't understand the reference he's making because I'm not part of that generation. I guess, whatever generation that is. The reason I avoided IDEs to begin with was that back when I was getting into Vim like a decade ago, it was an extra license to look into. Says Vim user John Carter, not of Mars. Since then, it's become a question of code speed. If I start with a new IDE or even switch something like Emacs, I'll slow down. On an emotional and a professional level, I can't really afford that. It takes energy to pivot to a new editor. I don't have that energy. I got the job, a family, and side projects. It seems silly, but that kind of pivot takes energy. First off, on a serious note, that doesn't seem silly. This is why I don't tell people like who are just working a day job, oh, you should just switch to NeoVim. Just like do it. Just do it today. No, because it has a cost. There are trade-offs. There are other things that you have to do. It's not a silly reason not to switch. It takes some effort and energy to do that. And if you don't have enough time, why would that be bad? But this reason of saying like, back when I avoided IDEs to begin with was getting into Vim, it was an extra license. Well, some people can't afford a paid editor. Some people prefer to work with open software that's actually open. That's also not a silly reason. Like you might not find those things valuable. That's okay. Totally cool. But it's not like a bad reason not to use a particular editor. So that just, this paragraph actually makes sense, which is probably why it's a quote from somebody else. So Vim is always available. That's true. Any Linux machine has it. Vim has a small footprint, low latency, fast startup, allows for more screen space, customizable, and most importantly, once the muscle memory has been ingrained, it's nearly impossible to do something else. This seems like a good reason to use something. So like so far, their arguments have been people of a certain generation and pros for Vim. All right, cool. I'm tracking so far. So continues Carter, our fingers are often the bottleneck between thinking up code and getting into the app, so that's where folk look to optimize shortcuts. I don't super agree with this though. I don't super agree with this. Like, I don't think that it's often your typing speed that's the bottleneck. And people who make that argument, I usually think aren't like thinking as like clearly or well about it. I do think there is something about navigating your editor that can sometimes be a bottleneck, right? So like if you're moving around a lot in your editor, like it can be nice to move quicker. That can be a bottleneck, but I think like typing stuff is rarely the bottleneck. So, all right, so take Adam. So there Adam.
I'd like to take this stream to say thank you to Adam the editor. What a great editor it is. If you enjoy writing code in the only hackable editor, please download Atom.
I just love this article was written in 2020. I didn't know that there were a bunch of people still using Atom. One of the more popular IDEs editors. That seems I'm not trashing Atom because Atom does some cool stuff and it's pretty interesting. Like, there are some cool things about it. I don't consider it one of the more popular IDEs/editors in 2020, late 2020. That just seems wrong. So Atom is a free open source text editor that bills itself as being hackable to the core. That's true. Allowing for multiple customizations. All right, yeah, it's true. Cross-platform editing, 4 UIs, 8 syntax themes. I mean, these things are true. I don't understand this. Most importantly, for users who didn't start coding in the last 5 years, there's a Vim mode package. Hey, chat, can you type anything right now if you've started coding within the last, let's say, 5 to 7 years, and you started using a Vim editor in that time frame? Because I know that they certainly exist. They certainly exist. Just literally type anything in chat right now. I don't understand this dig. Yeah, that's just mind-boggling to me, as if people would never want to learn Vim or NeoVim or Vim-like things that are not certain generation. Keep in mind as well, chat, this article is written on stackoverflow.blog. What? This isn't just a random person's thing. I find it funny that the pro for Atom is that it's hackable to the core, but then it's a negative that some people have turned Atom into their own editor experience that they like. So it's simultaneously, you should use Atom because it's hackable to the core, but if you hack to the core, you're a loser in this article's mindset, I guess. Most IDEs create entire worlds where developers can create, but creating requires configuration. It takes time to adjust that world, to play God, to create shortcuts and hotkeys, to get used to different command structures and UI. I just love that. Someone would use the phrase to play God when they're talking about configuring their JetBrains IDE. You know, like, you're just sitting there like, do I want tabs to be 4 spaces or 8? 8. I am a god. What? Oh, man. So I guess that's what IDEs do. Yeah, I edit config.json. I am a god. So, while a coder could sit down at any terminal and begin working in Vim, that isn't true for any IDE. I kind of feel like it's the reverse, actually, which is weird. I just feel like so many of my experiences are exactly the opposite of this. And then they say further, IDEs are often too much tool for the job. Beginner programmers are often much better served by simple text editors versus massive programming behemoths. Which I kind of do agree with that in some ways. Like, as Began has said before, like, you know, you start with something like PyCharm and you run some Python and you like think you know what's happening, and then you click a button and everything's broken, and then you're just stuck forever. There is something to this sentence, but once again, it kind of serves like the point of maybe using a tool where you understand what's happening would be better. Like using Vim might be a better situation. So, I don't know. So, once again, I guess that's another... Is anyone keeping track of the points? So far, I have 2 or 3 points for NeoVim, 1 point for Atom being able to turn into NeoVim, but it's unclear if that's a positive or negative. And then we have 0 so far for IDEs. So, I'm still trying to figure out what's going on there. As coders' career evolved less through their expertise than who is signing their paychecks. I need to read this sentence again. As coders' careers evolve less through their expertise than who is signing their paychecks, What? There's always a constant code editor available to them regardless of which IDE the company prefers. Can anyone explain this sentence? I literally don't understand this sentence. Are they trying to say that, like, it just matters who's paying you? That's how that's what your career is? I guess that's how these people ended up writing terrible blog posts on Stack Overflow. But, like, that's not what I consider career growth. It could be seen as an act of willful defiance or just personal preferences, but text editors are always there. I don't understand this paragraph at all. Are they saying, like, using something that your coworkers aren't using would be seen as willful defiance? I've literally never met a boss who would be like, excuse me, you don't use the same editor as your teammates? Excuse me, you don't use the same editors? You're willfully defying my rule. Are you trying to play God editing that config.json? That's insane. Okay, we'll move on because I don't know what they're trying to say. Primarily, it's about Ubiquity, they say. It says BSD runner. BSD runner. I like this. It's like, this guy's a BSD runner. This guy's a BSD runner. I can sit at any Unix-like terminal. Yep. Type VI. Have a powerful editor that works even if my terminal isn't configured quite right and without needing to install anything. I mean, okay, that seems like a good reason to have this situation. Another point for Vim, I guess. Another point for Vim. Familiar and comfortable. It's this type of comfort that has kept whatever perceived war there's those still using Vim or Emacs and the prospect of using IDEs going for as long as it has. So only one person so far said that it's about being comfortable. The other person said it's easier to use for simple cases. And then up here, they said that it's about being able to move quickly in code and be effective, and that they don't have basically the ability to afford to do something else. So it's not just types of comfort. They haven't even talked about being able to, like, bend it to your own will or things like that. Any of the reasons that we have fun with it, but that's okay. So it's Mental's mom's spaghetti. I'm guessing that this links to Eminem's mom's spaghetti. Yep. Or insert your comfort food here. Vim and Emacs are always there for you, cozy, calm, and willing. This sentence just sounds wrong. This sounds so wrong. While an IDE is some weird new food with all kinds of exotic ingredients that requires tenacious and irrational picking with the fork to get it just the way you want. This disconnect is apparent and at this point, understandable. No, that's literally no one has said anything like this. In fact, the experience that I have and the complaint that I have usually is the opposite, right? That people are like, I don't have time to configure Vim to be the way I want, I just want an editor. Just don't know what IDEs these people are using. This doesn't make any sense. So, there's some shiver of recognition. Ugh. Did you guys feel that? That's recognition going right down your spine. That's a shiver of recognition. That perhaps switching to a full IDE is not as unbearable as it sounds. There is a resignation in finally realizing that in order to do the job, you use the tools available to do the job, no matter what those tools may be. Yeah, and sometimes that tool could be Vim or Emacs. I guess I don't know this once again. That makes sense. Sure. I feel like you could literally just switch this around. There's some shiver of recognition among developers, though, that perhaps switching to NeoVim is not as unbearable as it sounds. There's a resignation in finally realizing that in order to do the job, you use the tools available to do the job, no matter what those tools may be. The paragraph works exactly the same if you just switch the subject. Like, there's nothing about this paragraph that supports this idea or this whole article, I feel. I say whatever helps you get the job done, use that. Says, not that Tom Hanks. That's pretty good jokes. I like that one. That's pretty funny. Sometimes the more modern IDEs can get it in the way, other times they're indispensable. Visual Studio, for example, has massive performance issues when there are too many files associated with a project file. The entire application becomes sluggish. Then sometimes they've used PyCharm, sometimes be confused. Basically, it was making you think you had a mistake when everything was fine. This seems like a really balanced take. This seems like a perfectly balanced take for me. This seems good. And in fact, I've recommended to people sometimes that you want to use other IDEs though, right? Like sometimes maybe you do want to use an IDE. That's fine. I've never said that was the wrong call. That said, if you're new to programming, a modern IDE can be helpful. Wait. Chat. Can we just rewind 3 paragraphs for a second? Beginning programmers are much better served by simple text editors versus massive programming behemoths. Okay, I guess now we can fast forward. That said, if you're new to programming, a modern IDE could be helpful. I feel like I need the "Am I taking crazy pills?" meme from Zoolander right now. With code completion, Git control, and even automatic deployment systems, modern IDEs are a Swiss Army knife of features. And like most Swiss Army knives, you don't have to use all the features to find them useful, especially if you're just starting out. Many of us won't use, say, the hole punch or the toothpick, but it's nice to know it's there. I mean, I'm not necessarily gonna disagree with this, and this is why, for some people, I've said, like, if you don't feel like you want to learn Vim or learn NeoVim, like, cool, just use some other editor. Like, you can use PyCharm Community, or you could use VS Code, or you could use whatever. Like, this is just, yeah. But I guess they have it both ways in the article. Yeah, also, hole punch. I don't know that Swiss Army knives usually have hole punches. That seems weird. Whatever war might be raging behind the screens of coders between Vim, Emacs, and IDEs really doesn't matter, which is why we wrote this article. Okay? Vim and Emacs aren't going anywhere anytime soon, no matter their antiquated status in modern development environments. I just love this. The whole article was that the premise is modern IDEs versus Vim Emacs. They listed several positive points for why you would want to use Vim or Emacs or some other simple editor. And then at the end, they're just like, and therefore, Vim and Emacs are antiquated. We have Tree Sitter, we have LSP, we have Lua, we have remote plugins that you can write plugins in any language. We have an actually open source distribution that isn't hidden. We don't send telemetry, which seems kind of like sending telemetry feels a little outdated. We have licenses that allow you to run it however you want and however you'd like to use. But those are kind of like antiquated features. Today, if you're not sort of like sending back every keystroke back to some big tech giant, I don't know. Yeah, it's just an antiquated status. There's nothing changing in Vim, NeoVim, nothing changing in Emacs. Emacs doesn't have, they're not working on Tree Sitter. They don't have LSP mode. That's a lie, by the way, chat. They do have those things. It's pretty cool. IDEs will keep improving, keep launching, and serve an ever-growing segment of young developers who were not served by IDEs and should use simple editors, who were never forced to thrive in Vim or Emacs environments. Chat, I have to apologize now. I'm looking right at you, chat. From the bottom of my heart, I am so sorry for forcing you to use NeoVim. It's hard to find the right words in this tough time. It's hard to explain the deep, deep regret I have for forcing you all to attempt to thrive in a NeoVim environment. That was never my intention, to force you to do that. And so I want you to know today, I release you. I release you from using NeoVim. You can use anything you want to do. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So, you can use whatever you want. So, once again, of course, the best advice from this excellent article that's well thought out and not full of contradictions to anyone struggling with choosing a preferred program is to just use the tools available to get the job done, which seems like it could be an IDE or Vim. I don't know. Or as the popular 20th century poets TLC so deftly declared, don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the Vim and Emacs that you're used to. This, okay, actually the thing that that really bothers me about an article like this is the sentence before I 100% agree with. The best advice to anyone struggling with choosing a preferred program is just to use the tools available to get the job done. Yes, I agree. You should use the tools that you have fun with and that you like and that get the things done. And then they follow it up with, or this basically trashing of saying, and the right choice could never be Vim or Emacs. Right? Like, this sentence is good and I agree with, and I stand by them. This sentence is just trash, saying that you don't actually believe this sentence and you think anyone who uses a not IDE is some old person who's never, like, from a different generation, who's stuck in the past and unwilling to change. Like, those two things don't go together. So, anyways, tags, Emacs, IDE, Vim, and contradictions. There you go, chat. Thanks for hanging out. Follow me on twitch.tv/Teej_DV. Like and subscribe, obviously. There we go.